What's up, everybody? This is Blair Johnson with the Badass Records Podcast, welcoming you in for another episode. This is long-form-ish conversations, one-on-one style with folks about them, what they're into, what their story is, and a little bit about some of their favorite albums. New episodes are out Thursdays. You could subscribe or access episodes where you stream or download your podcasts and your music. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can keep tabs on the socials via Twitter and Instagram. BadassRecordsPodcast.com is the site, and BadassRecordsPodcast@gmail.com is the way to get in touch with me if you want to do an episode or you know somebody that might be a good candidate. David Kaufman is my guest today, and I'm very pleased to have him on. Dave's the Name is the Instagram handle. He's a camera operator and an editor here in KC. Check out his stuff at theoutriders.com. Mad props to Dave for doing this with me. It was a pleasure to meet him and to learn a little bit about his story. Appreciate you stopping by. Hope you enjoy the show. Anyway,
yeah.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
I think this could wind up being episode number 140 of Badass Records Podcast. David Kaufman, appreciate you being here. So nice to meet you. Dave's the Name.
Yeah.
On Instagram.
Yeah.
KC camera operator and editor.
Mm-hmm.
There is a link to a boldjourney.com interview in your bio, and I loved the phrase poetry and spontaneity as a sought-after goal in filming people. I just thought that was really cool. So you said you're born and raised Topeka.
Yep.
And what is your sibling breakdown? Do you have any?
So I'm a middle child.
Middle child.
Yep.
Okay.
I've got an older sister, 3 years older, and then a younger brother, 6 years younger.
Okay. And how did your folks meet? Do you know?
They met in Topeka.
Okay.
And working at JCPenney.
No kidding.
Actually, yeah. They
consecutive episodes with a JCPenney reference.
Really?
Yeah.
Yep. Working at JCPenney in Topeka, and just like, friends of friends, and
cool. Right on.
My mom went to Washburn, and my dad went to K-State, but ended up in Topeka for work.
Okay.
And so yeah.
No, I think not consecutive, but one episode removed, Washburn also came up.
Yeah.
So it's just always goofy when that happens. Were your folks, did they put on music to listen to in the home when you guys were little?
Sometime. It's kind of funny. I think early on, like if I had to like think of like early music, something probably not real. I got really into like blues music when I was
on your own.
Well, from my dad.
Okay.
He didn't play it a lot, but he had some, and we would listen to it in the car.
CDs.
No, radio.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Just plugged into a blues station.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I feel like there was a blues station out of Kansas City that may have been associated with a barbecue place.
You're talking Sunday nights on 101 The Fox.
Yes.
Blues show, Lindsay Shannon.
Yes.
Yeah.
So So I vaguely remember listening to blues, but for some reason I really took to it, and
BB's Lawnside
just
Barbecue.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like I got into like BB King,
No kidding.
and like Stevie Ray Vaughan,
Yeah.
and I actually got to see BB King when he came and played at the Topeka Performing Arts Center when I was in middle school, I think. Middle school or high school? I don't know. I think it was middle school. But so I mean, other than just like pop music of the time,
Yeah.
one of my first CDs, was like the Space Jam soundtrack, right? And
Nice.
so listening to stuff like that, but and then
That's Marvin the Martian and Michael Jordan,
yeah,
right?
oh
okay,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
For a half second, I confused it with Jock Rock.
Oh
Do you
yeah, that
remember
was
that?
that. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that was.
Yeah.
We had that on CD too, for sure. But I mean, I loved anything sports related when I was
Okay.
growing up. I played. My main sports were soccer and basketball, but I also played tennis and golf, and played baseball for a few years, but had friends that played baseball, and we played home run derby with a wiffle ball bat and tennis balls. Luckily I had a pretty big backyard, and we're friends with the people that were our backdoor neighbors,
Yeah.
so they wouldn't care if we were hopping the fence. And actually they ran a preschool over there, and some of us cycled through the preschool, like my brother went
funny.
over there, and so they were good friends. And we were always playing something, whatever season it was.
Yeah.
We were always playing something. And so yeah, if there was like music that had to do with sports, I was probably listening to
Yeah.
it too. But I think the blues stuff led into a lot of just like classic rock,
Yep.
things. I love Pink Floyd.
Sure.
I love Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Groups like that, I can listen to over and over.
Any?
and it-
Go ahead.
No,
Oh, just
You're
any other?
Grateful Dead.
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Right on.
yeah.
Other early or first concert memories beyond BB
No,
King.
I never was a big concert goer. I never went to a lot of shows
Okay.
or anything like that. I know a lot of people got into it. I just never went
Yeah.
to a lot of shows. Try to think. I mean I also really like hip hop,
Okay.
and so we went down in the Crossroads. This was after high school, but like Atmosphere played with Slightly Stupid. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you know.
I know of Slightly Stupid. I've
Yeah.
never listened to them.
Yeah.
I am actually just like currently dipping my toes in the Atmosphere waters.
Okay, start at the beginning.
Okay.
With him.
Okay.
Start with Overcast. Go way back, and then because he changes with his music, because he gets a little bit older, he gets a little bit more mature, and has kids, and what he's singing about changes.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean he's been making music for quite a while, so things change.
Yeah. I have to say what I've heard so far has been fly. Like,
Yeah.
fun, good
Yeah.
beats,
Yeah.
real introspective
Yeah.
lyrics.
Yeah.
Like wise,
Yeah.
so
I got real into him in high school.
cool. Got goosebumps all
yeah,
of a sudden over a thing I don't even know anything about.
I should have the album I didn't list of I gave you 3 would have been God Loves Ugly by Atmosphere.
Okay.
That one.
But you caught Atmosphere and Slightly Stupid in the Crossroads.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
That was fun. And then Slightly has been again, they've been around for a while, and I kind of caught on to them in college. It wasn't until college, but they still, like, it's still played in our house right now, like at home.
Nice.
Like we'll put on my 1-year-old will start clapping and stuff. So there's a song we can put on, and she'll just like perk up every time, and
Nice.
it's just,
Nice.
but it's like chill surf rock reggae stuff,
That's
like
what Slightly Stupid is.
Yeah.
They're not aggressive. They're not.
No.
Oh, I'll
no,
check them out for
but
sure.
but like they've got like some punk roots too, and
Okay.
so like every once in a while they'll hit you with like something crazy, like but not too much.
Huh.
They're kind of, I don't know if you know of Pepper or the Expendables.
Uh-uh.
They kind of are in that same
Okay.
world, but slightly. They're fun. They're
Cool.
easy listening. Just put it on and kind of like vibe. Like yeah.
So, for me, it was instead of blues, it was oldies into classic rock.
Yeah.
And I'm picking up some hip hop and rap as I
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
But I'm in classic rock land for a long time.
Yeah.
And somewhere, near the end of high school, I'm an expert. I have a problem spending money on cassettes. I have so many, and
Physical media is pretty good stuff right now.
yeah. And so whenever it was that I was like, let's see what this Grateful Dead is about, and I bought a copy of Skeletons from the Closet, and I'm like, this is dog shit. And I that was it, and then I move on to college and meet some guys and listen to a couple actual studio albums, and I was like, oh, fuck, this is fantastic. So you write into them, and how did you? Because I don't, they're not for everybody, right?
No, I think it was probably because. I mean, I like a lot of music. There isn't a whole lot of stuff that I don't much care for country.
Okay.
I will say that. I just never got into it. I don't think anything of anybody that likes country, but it just wasn't for me.
Right.
So,
you know what? Just because it's on my mind, I'm also in a. I mean, we cut in the whole room, starting the second coat, and that's all we were listening to, and it's because the new Zach Bryan album, a lot of 13-year-old girls are digging.
Got it.
And so it's like it's called The Great American Bar Scene, and it was real slow. Like we had to move on to something else, and then it was feeding us Kenny Chesney and and I was like, I'm countryed out, and she's like, me too. So,
but I can dig, like, I know it's like an offshoot, but like bluegrass.
Yeah.
Like bluegrass is cool. Like
Yeah.
I think the banjo's awesome.
For sure. The reason I interjected though is because Hank Williams III. Hank Williams II is like Monday Night Football theme song, and that's it. Hank Williams the senior is kind of the lodi dodi. It's real old school.
Yeah.
Hank the Third is like grimy, blackout drunk party. It's super cool. So I've probably an essentials playlist, if you will, as educated as I am with him.
Yeah.
But he's super fun.
I'll have to check him out.
So I dig him. I also dig the likes of like Sturgill Simpson and Jason Isbell.
Yeah.
But most you can't walk 100 yards without running into somebody that wants to indoctrinate you into new country. All these big, stadium playing, and it's like, if it makes its way to me, cool. But I'm not gonna seek it out. It's just not my thing either, really.
Yeah. Within the country music theme. So I guess if I want to go back really far with music and just any sort of like musical influence, my grandpa and my grandma on my mom's side, they played in a country western music group, and they had all of this music equipment in their basement all the time because they would practice in my grandparents' basement.
Nice.
So as a kid, we'd go down there and we'd turn the microphones on and we'd just like, sing whatever into the microphones, or like they had a harmonica and they had guitars down there, and my grandpa would come down and play guitar and play, hey, good looking, what you got cooking?
Nice, yeah.
I think music has always been kind of around, and I've kind of always been into it, and I really want my kids to have some sort of musical education early on. My mom made all of us kids take at least, I think it was 2 years of piano lessons. Just like after 2 years, you don't have to do it anymore. But I want you to take 2 years of piano lessons.
I said 8th grade for both, and she's there through 8th grade.
Okay.
He's things like that kind of come with him easier. So if he winds up, I think she thinks I'm entering my final year and I don't have to do this because we've been doing it for years.
Yeah.
And if he is of the same mindset and gets to call it quits after 8th grade, he will have had a shorter time because they started at the same time and she's 3 years older. But it's like, whenever they've fussed, I'm like, pick another instrument. And that's, if you want piano to be gone, we're going to replace it with something. Point being, until you got to at least get in there and hopefully right brain and left brain are talking to each other and some kind of creative spark is happening.
Yeah.
So that's really cool though.
Yeah.
So what was your introduction to the Dead like? Like what got you?
It probably was, probably would have been a guy that he was from Topeka, but I met him in college. His name's John McKenzie. Real interesting fella. Been through a lot and has a really awesome outlook on life. And I think he may have introduced me to Slightly Stupid too. But it's just listening to music in college, and he's like, I lived with him for a year maybe. We had one house in college that I lived with a bunch of different people, throughout like a 4-year period.
Yeah, where were you in Topeka?
I went to K-State, so I was in
K-State,
Manhattan.
right.
Yeah,
Cool.
I was in Manhattan. And I think it was probably him who introduced me, and just I'm curious about, music of the time.
Yeah.
If I like, groups like, even, I loved you talked about the Fish documentary being something that at one point in my life, the Woodstock documentary was the one that I watched at least once a summer.
Cool.
For like probably 6 years.
I've never
watched
seen
it. It's really good,
I bet.
actually. And the music's awesome, and I think it's just the fashion of the time. When I was in college, we all just kind of wanted to be hippies, and we lived next to some guys that all played music, and so we'd come home at 2:00 at night when the bars closed, but they'd be in their front room just jamming, so we'd go in and
awesome,
do all the do the
make
stuff
a lot of good decisions.
make a lot of good decisions, light cigarettes on the stove, and and just kind of they were fun, and but it was just kind of an experimental time in your young life, and you're just kind of exploring music and movies. That was kind of my thing, music and movies, because I was in like the journalism program doing video stuff.
Cool.
So I wanted to watch like the obscure things that I'm like, somebody will ask me, have you ever seen this? And I was like, yeah, I think I saw it in college. And I don't really have a desire to watch it again, like something like Requiem for a Dream or something, like
One View.
Yeah. Yeah.
One
It's
View.
Watch that in college, because it was like, oh, you got to see this movie. But no, I don't. I think the Dead just kind of it was just kind of a gradual thing that got integrated into the mix of whatever
Sure.
I was listening to.
Cool.
I mean, I along the like the hip hop lines, like DJ Shadow and RJD2. They're
I don't know
DJs.
RJD2, but I love DJ
Yeah,
Shadow.
yeah.
I have an unhealthy introducing.
Yeah.
Scarred me in college. I mean, I love it.
Yeah.
But there's also some, you know, it's happening again. You know.
Yeah.
You know, just like, fuck, dude, that shit's crazy. And you snuck it in because all the shit leading up to it was real.
Yeah.
Badass.
But like that album, like that was one in college that I listened to, and even after college, I remember like going into work, just kind of on, just on. Like if I was walking, when I was living in Denver, I was working in a small production company downtown, and there's no parking. Street parking's crazy, so you're parking 4 blocks away somewhere, and then walking to the office, and listening to music on the way. And I feel like I listened to that DJ Shadow album.
Parking tickets.
Yeah, that too. But yeah.
Private Press is really good. I have a third one of his, and I know I've read about it, and probably maybe pictures exist. I don't know.
I think he's gonna be here.
I think he is too.
City, yeah.
I think he is too. But when Introducing came out. 90s. I discovered it in 97-ish, 98.
Yeah, I discovered it in high school, and I feel like I would rediscover it every couple years.
Yeah. Well, I remember reading way back then that he was like 60,000 deep in his record collection. Now I don't know if he's parted with any of those, but I'm sure he's added to it. So if there's pictures, or footage, I would love to. He's a wild, love that guy. So photography, film editing, producing, cinematography. Where was this love born, and when did you realize you'd pursue it regardless of obstacles?
Sure. I'd say born in high school. My brother was a skateboarder, and I could skate, but I was not very good. But I was good enough to be able to skate with a camera in my hand.
Okay.
So he was this, like just for fun, we would make these little. I would film him skating,
Cool.
and just do that. And then, during that same time in high school too, we had an English teacher named Mr. Wilson. And
shouts out to Mr. Wilson.
Shout out to Mr. Wilson. Oh yeah. And he sort of fostered this interest with me and a group of friends, because he was an English teacher, but then my high school also had some video equipment, like in editing software and stuff, and he ran, they called it like TV1 and TV2. And so you kind of learn the basics of how maybe a news broadcast is kind of organized and produced, and we kind of recreated our own little news stuff, and then that's what you did in TV1. And then you could also be like work where if you weren't playing the sport, like if they were gonna have like a camera set up for the game, you could be
nice.
someone helping out doing that at a game.
Production crew.
Yeah. And so then in TV2, you got to do the thing that everybody wanted to do was the music video project. You got to pick a song and make your own music video for it. And
it's not going anywhere, so you're not worried about copyright per se.
No.
Cool.
And this was just for a class project. And so we had a lot of fun doing that, and I felt like we would just film other just silly things with each other, but nothing serious, and wasn't ever anything that I thought of pursuing at the time. And then as time to go to college, and I decided to go to K-State, not really knowing what I wanted to get into.
Yeah.
And so I was sophomore year, I was in a mass communications class, and I was sitting next to someone who I kind of made friends with, and they told me that there was like a TV production studio on campus. And I was like, really? And so I went and looked it up and found out that they had a student video production group that did student work, but it was all mentored by the mass communications department.
Heck yeah.
And so
gives it some legitimacy.
yeah, and so at the time it was called the Educational Communications Center. Now they changed it to just Marketing and Communications later. But so I started out there working as a student, and then I kind of shifted. I sort of just kept showing up. Like, I didn't really know, like, kind of how it worked at first. So I would just like show up to the building and be like, is anybody doing anything right now? And they'd be like, no, but if you want to come into the studio, we're setting up for this, and if you want to learn some of that. And I was like, sure. And so then I switched my major to it was called digital media was what I ended up graduated. It's what they called it. They didn't have a film program like KU does. KU has a film program. This was like the closest thing, but it was really focused on broadcast news.
Okay.
But what I ended up, and so I got really into that. They had the student production group they called it Wildcat Watch, and they had their own things that they would do outside of like the school stuff. There were programs that we were mentored by people that worked in the building. You know, we could put together our own like student show if we wanted to bring in a musical group and bring them into the studio, and we could do like a little studio session with this music group. They would help us kind of organize that and a whole bunch of different stuff. But I got a lot of experience, and a lot of really good experience, hands-on experience, just kind of by showing up and getting involved with things. And
Love it.
As a student, I worked on the Bill Snyder show. So after every football game, I'd be on like a camera in the studio, whatever, for like he'd come in. If there was an away game, he'd still come in after they landed, and it'd be like 2 a.m. or whatever, and I'd have to wake up, and I'd go and do the Bill Snyder show, and then go back home, and I did that. I was on the crews for like the jumbotrons for the football and basketball were the big ones at the time. They started doing their own. They started doing broadcasts for volleyball and baseball too, kind of in my later years at K-State. But I started out just pulling cables for learning how to wrap and pull cables for the cameramen that they would bring in from the news stations, and so. That was kind of fun too, being down on the
Sure.
court down on the field or the court with those guys, because if it was a football game, you'd always have to be on your toes, because if the ball goes to the other end of the field, then the camera guy was just going to take off running, down to that end of the field. And so if you were pulling cables or whatever, you'd usually be on a crew with 2 or 3 other people that would all have like a line of slack. And so it's kind of this whole like crew making sure that nobody tripped on anything and making sure that the camera guy had enough cable to get to where he needed to go, and he wasn't like waiting on you. And so you kind of learn to work in that kind of like live environment.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I cut my teeth in production, was like live sports mostly.
Cool.
And then kind of worked my way up to running cameras for the jumbotrons and stuff like that, and graduated and went to work for the communications and marketing department for the university right out of school, shooting and editing for them. Like all this time I was doing like production work, I was also learning editing a lot of my own stuff, and then actually making friends with a guy that I'm still pretty close to today, and he's in the industry too. His name's James Rico. I just actually visited him last week.
So shouts out to James Rico,
shout out
Mr.
to
Wilson,
James Rico, and
Mr.
the Real
Wilson,
Goats,
and
Mr. Wilson,
who was the,
John McKenzie.
John McKenzie. All right, who are the Real Goats?
So the Real Goats, that's my buddy's company.
Okay, cool.
And if you are familiar with, they do a bunch of music videos. They're very, very talented guys, and James especially. And they do music videos. They've done commercial stuff, doc stuff.
Nice.
Most notably, they did a bunch of videos for DaBaby. If you know who DaBaby is,
yeah.
Okay. They did a bunch of his stuff.
Cool.
So, yeah, shout out to James. And then so he started out doing real small like music video creative stuff, and that's where kind of the creative side of things started to spark with me outside of sports. Was working with James on a bunch of different projects, music videos, shorts, weddings, just like kind of anything we could get our hands on to shoot and edit. And then after working for the university for a while, I decided to move to Kansas City and freelance. And basically just kind of like, all right, I feel like I know enough, whether or not I did.
Sure.
But I was like, I wanted, I've been in Manhattan for a while now. I know I was there for 5 years for school and there for a year and a half after. I'm like, okay, I want to jump into a bigger market.
Yeah.
See what bigger production is all about. So I came here. I PA'd, which PA is production assistant. So on a few things just with connections that I had made through K-State.
Yeah.
I got in with some companies, PAing a little bit, but I was mostly shooting weddings and editing freelance for a few different groups. And I actually, about a year into doing that, had reached out to Sporting KC when I moved here, saying like, I was looking for work. I have a lot of sports experience, doing everything that I did at K-State. And then a year later, I actually hear back from them, and they're like, "Hey, we're looking for someone to do some more creative shooting and editing stuff for the in-stadium video boards and to help out with other things that we need to do for." And so I went and talked with them and got on with them in 2013, right before playoffs, which 2013 was the year they won the Cup.
Yeah, in a freaking penalty kick situation.
Yeah, and it was like 7 degrees outside.
Chilly and snowy.
Yes, yeah. So I was there for that with them. That was like my introduction to, working with a major league sports organization, and it was really cool at the time. I call it the glory years. I was there from 13, 14, and 15, and people were just so pumped on Sporting at the time because they were coming off of the Cup. They were still new in the city. The rebrand was new, and but I working in sports, you work a lot, and a lot of the it can be very repetitious. Like it's like you're telling the same story every night, but it's like you're using footage, from just the game prior. Yeah. It's like, we didn't get them last time, but we've been working all week, and they don't know what they're in for tonight. Here we go. And it's like it's the sports story that you hear, for any sport.
You mentioned doing all of these games in college. You didn't.
That was all live stuff. I didn't.
Right, but it didn't bother you to take hours from your social calendar to go.
No, because I was getting paid.
Okay, cool.
I was making money.
Oh wow.
And that was a big thing with this student production crew. They would pay you.
Wow.
So that was my work in college.
That's great.
Outside of, I also worked at, I was the kid from Topeka that wanted to be from California, so I worked at PacSun, and PacSun and Journeys, and so in Hat World, which was also Lids, but
right.
So, but no, that was a big part of my income in college was working football and basketball games, working the Bill Snyder show.
That's dope.
Doing stuff like
Way
that.
Way better than waiting tables and not getting to see any of those games.
Yeah. I mean, it was a sacrifice because I was, but there was something just fun about being like, there's like this adrenaline rush of, be it football, football, basketball, which I love basketball, but football, basketball, baseball, volleyball, even like I directed some of the volleyball stuff when, right out of my senior year, they were letting students do some of the directing and the technical directing of the broadcast. We had people there kind of overseeing things, us being like mentored but them really allowing us to do a lot of stuff.
Cool.
And get some actual experience that I feel like sometimes, people ask me, it's like, did you go to film school? And it's like, I didn't go to film school, but I learned a hell of a lot on YouTube.
Right.
But I did get a lot of really great physical live production experience, which is laid a lot of good groundwork for just stuff that you have to know.
Yeah.
That kind of transfers over into commercial production work, which is what I'm doing now.
Yeah. And it's paying your bills.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. And so, after sporting, my wife and I were kind of looking for a change up, and we moved out to Denver. And because we'd been married for a few years, and she grew up in Kansas City, and we met at K-State, and through one of my best friends, actually, because he was in the art department. My wife's an art teacher.
Oh, nice.
So she graduated in art education and is teaching out at Benninghoven Elementary, which is in the Shawnee Mission District.
Benninghoven.
Yeah, I know. But
I feel like I know almost all the Shawnee Mission schools.
They are right next to Shawnee Mission Northwest.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So they're the elementary school that feeds into Northwest.
Gotcha.
After moving to Denver, and then I found a real small product. I wanted to see what I could do outside of sports. It's like I did sports all through college.
Yep.
I really had fun doing creative stuff on the side with James Rico, doing that stuff. He and I were real tight with doing stuff, and then when I decided to move to Denver, that was kind of a big deal. It was a big deal for me moving away from him because we'd done so much work together on the side, and I know it was a big thing for him too, because I know he really wanted to kind of build a company together, and it was a tough move because I was looking to like just kind of see what else is out there, and that was a tough one. But he went on and he moved out to California about a year and a half after I moved to Denver, and they started the Real Goats, and they've just been running with that, doing a bunch of cool stuff. But I got on with a small production company in Denver doing small some commercial work, just kind of corporate video, nonprofit stuff, some doc stuff, and nothing real flashy, but it was different, from what I was knowing. So it was like it was learning a different skill set.
Sure.
So it was good, and I was in a new city where it was kind of I didn't know a whole lot of people. One of my best friends through life. His name's Jacob Meyer. We met each other when we were 3, and we he's still probably my best friend
Cool.
today.
We gotta add Jacob to the shout
yeah,
out list.
yeah, he's still out in Denver, but he anyways, I doing some work out there that I wasn't accustomed to, and then they have such a big art scene and like a street art scene in Denver. I got kind of really into that, and just kind of reached out to the arts district, being like, hey, who can I talk to about maybe doing some video work with like an artist or whatever, and so I got an email back being like, hey, these guys are actually painting, excuse me, currently, if you want to go talk to them, they might, and it was a guy by the name of John Lamb and Michael Ortiz, two guys very well known in Denver for murals.
Okay.
And so I show up, and I was like, hey, I got, your guys' name from Tracy. I know he reached out, told you that there was going to be a guy coming out to do some video. I was like, you guys just do your thing. I'm going to be off here kind of doing my thing, don't
pretend like I'm not here.
Yeah, and so I just kind of let them do their thing, and just kind of watched and observed and shot stuff around of what they were doing and tried to stay out of their way and be respectful, and so I came back and I threw an edit together and I sent it to them, and they were like, whoa, this is cool. Thanks for doing this. And I was like, yeah, thanks for letting me come out and have fun. That's just going out and shooting stuff for fun is kind of therapeutic for me, so it's like anybody who loves to draw or paint,
there's also a therapeutic element to like an actual real life collaboration like
yes
that.
Yeah,
value for both sides.
Yeah,
it was fun, nobody was a dick.
No. And that was kind of my in with getting into a bit of the art scene in Denver and getting some work doing, working with artists. So that was kind of stuff I would do on my own time outside of client work stuff, outside of, the 9 to 5. And, when I was only in Denver for about 3.5 years before moving back, but my boss at the time, he was a part of this, kind of educational storytelling group called Muse Storytelling. And they had courses on how to basically tell better stories in documentary form for, kind of for profit, for businesses or corporations or whatever that maybe wanted to tell their story. They would do workshops with them, or they had their own like online learning of like how to identify a good character, how to figure out, what a 3-act structure is, and how to figure that out, and how to maybe figure out how to time that out within like the timing of like the story that you're telling. Like, if you have a conflict, or that whatever, your first act should be about this long. If your video is going to be 3 minutes, your first act should be about this long. And so I learned a whole lot about storytelling and story structure and character development, and like things to look for when doing interviews.
Wow.
or when like telling a story. And like, although like maybe like I said, the work we were doing at the time wasn't super flashy or anything like that, I was laying a lot of ground unknowingly. There was a lot of groundwork being laid that would help me out later, when I would go off and do some of my own projects. I could bring these tools that I now had, about just a bit of a better understanding of how stories work. And how to organize them.
This is way cheaper than college. Look what I'm learning.
I know, but so my boss was a coach for this team.
Okay.
And so he had to go through, and this team was out of Portland, Oregon, and the group was Muse was, and and Caleb Cohart was my boss in the name, or his name, and so I got a lot of this free. So we would implement a lot of these this education that he was coaching into like all of the projects we'd be doing for. So it was like free free education, but also like you have to use this within like the projects that we have, and I don't know, it was I didn't recognize it at the time, but I recognized it after leaving, how much I learned and kind of absorbed, that was like this new tool outside of like shooting and editing that I had. So when I came here and started working with a company as an editor, but so the company was called Liquid 9, and
Dan Goodman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my boss. You know Dan?
We went to high school together.
Okay.
He's, where is he?
Is he on the wall?
He's on the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I work for Dan.
Okay. You mentioned, I think it was when you, music videos and maybe DaBaby.
So they did all the Tech 9 stuff,
yes.
back in the day.
Yeah.
And so I knew of Liquid 9 from being in Kansas City before, and they also were Sporting's video partner when I worked for Sporting. Liquid 9 they were doing all the videos that I wanted to be doing, like they were because they were like their media partner.
Yeah.
But it was funny. I got that introduction to them, and when I was looking to move back,
There he is, episode 27. Yeah. That's Dan.
When I was looking to move back, I was reaching out to a bunch of people, and I reached out to a woman who was running the KC Film group, named Steph Shannon, and I was like, hey, I have experience editing. That's what I love shooting, but what I'm normally hired to do is to edit, but I have this other skill set too, which I can help out with. Like, if we have a shoot, I can be a second camera operator, or if it's like really low budget, I could be the one to shoot it, and then I'll do the edit. That's how it had been for a long time. So Steph responded back and gave me a list of different people to reach out to, and there was a guy that I had known that was in Kansas City, and he was with an ad agency, and I reached out to him, and I was actually really close to hopping on board with them as an editor, and then they kind of went dark on me for a month, which was odd, and so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna reach out to some other people, and so I reached out to Dan at Liquid 9, because Liquid 9, I was like, oh shit, Liquid 9, that's right, and I should reach out to those guys. And Dan responded back within like 2 days and was like, hey man, funny enough, we're kind of transitioning someone out right now. We're gonna need an editor. Are you interested? And I was like, yes. I have us moving back. Moving back was inevitable, but for me to have a job, waiting for me when I moved back was like,
They had a similar thing.
because he was in Chicago. Well, he was at BR, and then he was in Chicago, I think, working for BR too. I don't know.
I thought he and his wife moved out to Denver.
He was in Denver for a while.
And then their baby was born.
I don't
first
know all
baby,
of his story,
and they were like, "Fuck, we gotta get out of here. We gotta get back where people are that can help us, and shit's more affordable."
Yeah.
Don't quote me on that.
Okay.
But that's my paraphrase.
Gotcha. So that all happened within like a week, and I was like, yeah, but Dan's thing was, hey, I know you're interested in shooting, and we're gonna hire you on as an editor, but I will help you get experience, if we are hiring a DP, which is director of photography, to shoot something, commercial for us, I'll let you assist him, and you can get some experience that way and kind of work your way up. but at the time, so I moved and started with Liquid Nine, and just as an editor, and editing a bunch of stuff for Omaha Steaks, still a big client of ours, and then that was in June of 2019, and just kind of editing, shooting some small stuff. Like we had some stuff with Sporting come up because I still knew people that were working over at Sporting from being there, and Sporting being a client of Liquid Nines at one time, kind of reconnected that relationship a little bit, and shot some stuff with them early 2020, and then COVID hit, right? And so what ended up happening was, like, we would do some studio we had a client that made medical equipment, and so luckily we were able to stay afloat throughout COVID because there was this company could no longer send out sales representatives to show how a product worked or to show how to unbox or set up a product. But we could masked up, there was like maybe 3 of us, and we would have like a Zoom call set up so they could like see kind of like how we were doing things. But we would do these like basically unboxing and setting up videos for this medical company.
Wild.
Throughout COVID, and so I was shooting all of those because cost, and it wasn't like a crazy creative thing that they needed to hire somebody with a lot more experience. But so I kind of like just started shooting more and more given our circumstances, and them being totally cool with having me shoot stuff because luckily they were happy with what I was doing.
Yeah.
And just kind of fostering that, I feel like I've gotten like, since I've started working at Liquid Nine, well, no longer Liquid Nine. We rebranded.
Outrider.
We're Outrider now.
I've got, what did we say? Dave's the name for your Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and theoutriders.com. And all the while, I'm like, why the fuck is that familiar? And when he might have announced the whole thing on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yep.
I think I might have texted him and been like, everything? And he's like, everything's fine. We're just rebranding.
Yeah.
And I didn't pry any further. I was like, cool.
Yeah.
That was before this. I don't know when it was.
No, it was just last year.
Just last year?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was last February.
Okay. But, I mean, it occupied a very small portion of bandwidth for a second.
Yeah.
And then it was gone, and now I'm seeing it again. I'm like, where do I know that from?
So now I am our director of photography and senior editor.
Hey.
And we
cool.
have another editor and colorist. Yeah, it's been an interesting it's a lot more free. I would say it's a lot loosey-goosey isn't the right word, but I'd say free as far as like a working environment goes, because I said this on something before, but I've never worked somewhere where everybody in their respective fields is like so good. That it's like shit. I need to like try and keep myself at like a top level, because like I'm working with all these other people that like these animators that can do all that, like they're really good at, and I have to ask them to animate stuff for me all the time, and it's like something that would take me 2 hours could take them 20 minutes, or and like we are very interesting. There's not really another company in the city like us, because we do we can do creative, we can do strategy, we can do branding, we do original music, and sound design, like sound recording,
We for our
production.
there have been a couple things. One was a wedding weekend. One of our buddies got married, and another was a reunion weekend, a high school reunion. And like, if for both of those events, if the thing is on Saturday, Friday night, Dan had us all down to the place.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah,
it was just like,
down at the crossroads.
what the? It's just this massive,
We've since moved buildings.
Okay, interesting.
The building was getting old, and
Sure.
it was kind of like
Cool space, though.
very cool space. They did a lot of really cool stuff there. Since COVID, we've kind of gone hybrid. So like I'm still in the studio every day because I've got a whole bunch of equipment and I've got my whole editing setup and all that kind of stuff. And I like getting out of the house and going somewhere to work, where a lot of people since COVID can do most of their work just from home.
Sure.
So like we've got a producer that comes in 3 days a week. Some of our client managers just are full remote. Our creative director comes in from time to time. Dan comes in
Sure.
probably once every week or 2 weeks, to pop in. He's doing his stuff over at Rieger as well. I didn't know if you knew that. So he's doing some marketing stuff with Rieger.
Yeah, for a little while.
He's still there.
No, I know, but when did he start doing that? A couple years?
Yeah, a couple years
He's
ago. I
kind
think.
of a partner role?
Yeah,
or-
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And so like I still come in all the time, but back to I kind of lost my train of thought.
No, you're good, man. You're good. Before I forget, a buddy of ours that we went to high school with, Matt Smith, was episode. Where was Matt? 82, 72, 82, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
He is an executive producer in L.A. And
Oh, okay. Does he work with Dan on stuff? I know they've got some big things in the works.
precisely that.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, and
Yeah.
it's none of my business. And probably shouldn't say any more about it here.
No.
But I know that it's all, to me, cool stuff.
Yeah.
Like they're
For sure.
anyway. So go ahead.
But yeah, so it's just we've got a super fun team to be a part of, and everybody's really good at what they do, and we
Nice.
can kind of do everything just in house, which is super rare.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So outside of that, I mean, are you? I didn't see any, solicitation per se, but I mean, are you a person that folks you'll do gigs on the side as well
Sure.
too? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have
Kind of just depends on my availability with projects that I have going on
Yeah.
at work.
Yeah. So you have work, and then you have your own sort of passion
Yep.
projects.
Yep.
And then if it works out,
And then if it
you'll-
works out.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And the best way for folks to holler at you,
Just Instagram. Yeah.
DM, good
Just
old
DM. Good old
Cool.
DM on Instagram. That's
Love it.
probably I'm on that more than any other
Yeah.
platform.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thing with visual stuff.
Yeah.
So
Very cool, man.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you being here and for sharing your list with me. I usually just roll through those in release order.
Sure.
So if we do that, it starts with how I spent my summer vacation.
Yeah.
The Bouncing Souls from 2001.
Yeah.
This is 5 of 12 from them, including one from last year. 13 tracks, 34 minutes. Late 80s birthed New Jersey punk rock. Never heard of these guys. How
Yeah.
did you discover them, and why did this record earn a spot on your list?
Yeah, this album, How I Spent My Summer Vacation, The Bouncing Souls, have always had kind of a soft spot in my heart from... I didn't start listening to them until high school, but So, at the time of my high school experience, which would have been 2000, so 6, 5, 4, 3, 3 through 6, so 2003 through 2006, a popular like pop punk and emo and screamo and stuff were kind of on the rise. And like I listened to my fair share of that, but I got really into just kind of more like punk rock stuff, like the Bouncing Souls and Anti-Flag and groups that most of my close friends didn't really listen to, but it was like something that I really got into. Like I had some friends that kind of introduced me, but they weren't like close friends. They were just like guys that I knew from something or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, you should check out this group." And it's like this was one of the groups that it's like whenever I hear them, it just makes me feel good. You know, it doesn't.
It was a random
It
recommendation.
was, you know, I was kind of into the punk stuff, you know, and they're like, "Oh, you should check out this. You should check out the Bouncing Souls." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then after that, I was like, "Oh man," I just would kind of any album that would come out, I would get, but this album, something about it, I love it. The third song on it, True Believers, I wanted to get that tattooed for a long time, and I'm still thinking about it.
Do you have any?
I have the state of Kansas on my side with a star where Topeka is, which I got when I was 18.
Yeah.
I've got Dude on my lip.
You do?
Yeah.
Dude.
And then my friend Jacob Meyer, who I was like my best friend since I was 3, he has Sweet. So we have Dude and Sweet. So, yeah, from Dude, Where's My Car?
Yeah, what does mine say?
Yeah, yeah, just being, you know, stupid high school kids, you know,
it's great,
having fun. So
that's a lot easier to conceal than like you know, a 10-letter message on the Nux.
Right. But yeah, they
God, I mean, how does that? I mean, how long?
Yeah, it didn't take too long.
Okay. Does saliva not get in the way?
It's they keep kind of drying it out. And they can't give you like, they're like, it'll last at least 3 years. We don't really know because it's so like soft and stuff. They're like, we don't really know how deep, you know, kind of the ink is getting in there or whatever. And so you'll have it for at least 3 years, and I still have it. And I got it when I was 18, and I'm 37. So, so every time I go to the dentist, they're like, "Whoa," you know.
Right. That's hilarious.
But yeah, no, these guys, and this was another group like my little brother who skated. He, you know, he also got really
Your
into
little
them.
I'm
Yeah,
you're the middle.
I'm in the middle. Yeah,
Okay.
he's 6 years younger, and he was the one that skated, and we did the little skate videos together, like early on.
Yeah.
But these guys also make me think of we in high school. Me and some of my buddies, we got real into longboarding, so we would like hit like big hills. You know, we'd go out at night. You know, when the cars weren't, you know, all over the roads, and we'd you know, go hit big hills and stuff and have fun. And I just remember skating and listening to Bouncing Souls like so much.
Yes.
So it just kind of reminds me of like good times, and I just feel good.
Skateboarding videos and snowboarding videos were
that was that in college. That's like I didn't get into this because I was talking about a bunch of other stuff, but like that's what I wanted to do out of college. I wanted to make snowboard and skate videos.
Yeah.
I had no real experience doing any of that. So it was kind of hard to get in there. And, but that was like, I mean, that was always like, that was an early
dream
was to do snowboard and skate
videos.
So
the, video, I don't know how old it is now. Couple years, 3 years. I mean, it crops up, but it's a I think a Hispanic dude who's bald, and he's on a longboard, and he's videoing himself, and he's drinking cranberry juice.
Yeah.
And Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, he brought that song back. Yeah.
I mean,
he made it
that thing immediately was like
Yeah.
crazy viral.
Yeah.
Why? Just because it's a vibe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
Right place, right time.
Yeah.
I always tell people that I feel like social media is a lot like a carnival, like playing carnival games. It's like it's all rigged somehow. You know, the algorithm's rigged somehow as much as you want to play it.
Right.
There's people controlling it. You know, somebody's controlling what's being put out and what isn't. And so it's like you could play one time and you could win. You could play 100 times and you'll never win.
It's like the claw.
Yeah, it's like the claw.
Yeah.
You know, and so I kind of have that same approach whenever I don't put a whole lot of emphasis on what I post and like how many people get into it or whatever, because it's like who knows? I could. What I'm finding now is like the things that get most traction now is like pictures of my kids. You know, I'll take a dope photo of my daughter and it's like getting over 100 views, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And it's like from people that I was like, I don't know you, but I know you do cool work, and you're looking at my photo. But
the other thing is, there's just some stuff that I can only watch like once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
For example, these POV reels where it's like a dirt bike or mountain bike,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just everything about the terrain just looks like death.
Yeah.
And then there's some longboard folk, not exclusively, but I mean like just fucking bananas speed.
Yeah.
And that, you know, to do the turns, they're almost like parallel to the ground, and I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, that's terrifying.
Yeah, when I was in high school, I would have thought that was awesome.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
now I'm like, nah.
Exactly. I kind of like being alive. It's not
Yeah.
Well, good stuff there. Just 1 year later, 2002 with By the Way by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yep.
8 of 13 for them.
Yep.
16 tracks, 68 minutes. We go from Jersey to LA. I have to be honest, when I saw this, I was like, Chili Peppers record, so fucking good.
Thank you.
I mean, I got Californication and whatever's right before that, that record, with both of them, ton of hits.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and I've heard a lot of those tracks a lot of fucking times, and I'm just kind of like, I mean, they put out an album a couple years ago and tour. I was like, really? They're still fucking. Anyway, I kind of rolled my eyes, but then I was like, I don't actually know if I know this record.
Yeah.
And I put it on, and I was like, God, I cannot turn this off.
I'm glad you're on board. This one, this was like so if Bouncing Souls is high school, right? This is college, but it's only because like I had a friend who I was living with that was really into the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and for some reason we all got just like really into them, but it was more into like this album, and then like anything predating this. So I don't know if you know their album Freaky Styley.
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah, it's been on
American Ghost Dance from that.
I don't know tracks particularly.
Oh man. But I mean, you know, they made that with George Clinton.
Okay.
And a whole lot of cocaine. So
yeah. It's a good combo.
So it's a mix of like funk, punk, surf rock. Like it's all over the place. But it's really fun. And this one we got really into, but also my wife and I started playing this when we were living in Denver. Whenever we would go we'd go out like onto the western. We'd drive, you know, we'd have some trip where we'd want to go somewhere in Colorado, and so like this was like the album we would listen to driving through the mountains and stuff. And
It's really thoughtful,
yeah,
you know, and musically impressive in a number of fronts.
Yeah, it's a really fun album. Like, yeah, it's just like going down the list, like Tear, Minor Thing, Warm Tape, Venice,
Tear.
dude.
Yo.
Yeah, that became probably one of my like sleeper favorite tracks of the whole album.
Well, I kept getting to a spot where I'm like, when is this gonna kind of stop being good and have a few shitty songs for filler?
Yeah,
and Tear is late in the record, right?
Yeah,
and I was like, man, they're still just killing this.
Tear's the 12th track out of 16.
Yeah,
and then you've got, you know, they close it with Venice Queen and like Zephyr Song. Like,
yes,
I mean, that was probably one of their more popular.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Other than probably By the Way.
I think those are the two big ones. Yeah.
Yeah. But Can't Stop is great. Yeah. No, I love it.
Are you on Twitter?
No, I'm not. No.
Flea is a phenomenal follow.
Okay.
Just for whatever that's worth.
Sure. No, he's an interesting. I love seeing him pop up in movies every once in a while.
Yeah.
You know,
there was something along the lines of. I mean, I think it's every once in a while has bubbled up where he's like, I want to be done doing this.
Yeah.
And I saw a thing where it said the only reason why I never actually said that I'm done being in this band is because I didn't want to tell Anthony.
Anthony's got such a wild story. If you if you're looking for a good book, check out Scar Tissue. It's
shit.
The Anthony Kiedis story. Yeah, it's really good.
Huh.
He's got the wild childhood
bet.
You know, and went through a whole lot of stuff and came out on the other side and still making music. So
yeah. I mean, they're historically as a band.
Yeah,
they've been through some stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
You've seen
they've been through guitar players.
Well,
too,
John Frusciante had.
Love to see him back.
He came back.
Yeah,
and for that record. He had like horrible anxiety because I think he was away from folks, and okay, now I'm back and around folks again, and there's pressure to do. I think it was
you got it
crippling at times for whatever record he came back. It might have been Californication.
Yeah.
Have you seen the original Point Break?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That would be a waste of time. We're just gonna fuck you up. Love that scene,
dude. Yeah, I mean, waste of time was them remaking it, but the original.
I never saw it.
I think I tried watching it. Same with the remake of Roadhouse.
Oh, okay.
Not. I wouldn't suggest it, but no, these. Yeah, Red Hot Chili Peppers got a real special place in my heart.
So,
for sure.
are you? I mean. A student or a scholar in some sense in all of their other records?
No, I mean, I think I've listened to lots, but I wouldn't say I'm a scholar of their.
Did you check out the
music.
most recent one?
I did.
And
I like some of it.
Okay.
Yeah, some of it's cool.
Nice.
But I haven't. I didn't dive in. Because sometimes you like with music, it's like you like what you like and you kind of want to stay there.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel with Atmosphere. And sometimes with like Red Hot Chili Peppers is I like where they were at this time.
Sure.
And I think where they were at with like Freaky Styley is just like very interesting to me. Like that stuff is just wild.
Yeah.
And then like Blood Sugar Sex Magic stuff.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's good. So
yeah. Well, 10 years ahead to 2012 with Good Kid, Mad City, Kendrick Lamar, second of 5, 12 tracks, 68 minutes. This record came out when I was chefing at a neighborhood bar and grill and like bought this house the same month. And so a guy that was cooking for me he would just fucking play swimming pools. Oh, and I was like, this is the guy that Dre is saying is and this song sucks. But nevertheless, we've had To Pimp a Butterfly and the most recent Kendrick.
Not Like Us.
Maybe. Anyway, the two others of the five have made lists, and now we've got three. When did you discover this record?
When it came out.
Okay, and was your selection of punk, rock, rap for your list intentional or a coincidence?
Coincidence,
Okay.
really. I mean, if you want to, you could throw in soul and jazz in there too. I mean,
Sure.
It's all kind of a part of no, it was not intentional. These were just, when I was thinking about albums, I was like, I can, whenever I listen to any of these three, it just kind of like makes me think about a certain point in my life when,
Nice.
and so this album came out when I had first moved to Kansas City, and my wife and I were in our first apartment, and I'm on my little laptop editing at home, trying to make it as a freelancer, and I'm just listening to this album on repeat, and
No shit.
yeah, and it was just like I was into a lot of other rap at the time, so I was listening to a lot of like Atmosphere and Brother Ali, and I don't know if Sage Francis, if you're familiar with him at all. They're all very poetic.
Cool.
in storytellers.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I really liked about this, was like he was telling a story, and it wasn't like most popular rapper hip hop out at the time. I was like, he had a real story to tell, and
he's doing it with like almost a different producer on every track, and almost every track has a different feature, including there's a Drake feature on this one. I forget which track it is, but are you up to snuff on whatever?
Oh, yeah,
what is it? I haven't ever poked.
They're at odds. I don't really want to get into it because I don't know. I don't know enough about.
Okay.
I don't know enough to.
But they didn't used
to say
be.
anything.
When this record came out, they were close enough. Anyway. But you like the storytelling aspect of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the songs, Poetic Justice. I mean, Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe is just like, you just put that on. I mean, yeah, Swimming Pools was kind of what got big, but yeah, it was like really poetic and really. I felt like it was more storytelling than like having, verses with hooks that you always go back to, which was what Swimming Pools was. But there was just so much diversity within the lyrics and the sound and everything. I was like, man, this is a lot to wrap my mind around for a rap album.
No shit. Yeah.
So, I got real into him and kind of dove back into, stuff of his that was even before the mixtape stuff that was before this. Small, like, odd story. So, when I was shooting a music video with James. When it would have been around the time this album came out. So there were some guys in Junction City that so James was living in Manhattan at the time. He had moved to Kansas City, but these guys in Junction City that he did some small budget music videos for, hip hop stuff. They wanted to go to Vegas and shoot a music video in Vegas. So I tagged along with James in that, and they got this big Airbnb house that we use for the set of a lot of it, and they wanted to get some stuff like in a club, like get shots in a club, and so we're standing in line with some small DSLRs and telling the bouncers that these are just photography cameras, and we were going to be shooting video with them anyways, but so they let us take one of them in. So one camera, for some reason, they're like, no, you can't take two of them, but you can take one of them in. And so whenever nobody was looking, we'd, kind of roll on some shots of these guys in the club or whatever, just kind of a vibey sort of thing. And midnight hit, and Kendrick Lamar comes out and does 3 songs and in the club that we're at. And I didn't know this, like we didn't know it at the time, but I don't know if the guys that we were shooting the videos for knew that, and that's why we were there. But I didn't know it at the time. That information did not make it my way, and I was like, "What the fuck is happening right now?" Like he's right there, like, and so and it was because they were playing this album when we were at the house, like getting ready to shoot and stuff. They were playing. Yeah, so this just is like, this was kind of an artist that I knew of, but this album just kind of really stuck with me, and it's one that I'll still go back and just listen through.
Nice.
Nice. And yeah, it's just good stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
So fantastic list. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a few goofy questions that I wrap with, and we'll get you out of here.
Yeah.
She's got to babysit at 4, so I'm going
to
make sure she's got everything she needs. I'll be right. Well, again, appreciate the list and the time. These goofy questions, the first of which, lunch with anyone, dead or alive, you're choosing. Who are you choosing and why?
Anyone. That's a hard question. I'm trying to think. Because, I mean, you could go down like the famous route. You could go the photographer route. But then it's also like,
You got Kiedis, you got Kendrick on the table in front of you.
yeah, I know, but I mean, I'm going to like people who have, I mean, they all have very interesting perspectives. I think someone I'd love to talk to. Okay, a photographer. I'd love to have lunch with she's still alive. A woman by the name of Martha Cooper.
Martha Cooper.
So she, only because I'd love to know how, just what it was like. She started documenting graffiti in New York back in its early infancy, and she was one of the few photographers that these kind of elusive artists would
We're cool with. No shit.
And she's got just years and years of photos of just kind of that scene as it happened.
Wow.
Like from the beginning. I mean, she's still alive today, and she has books out and stuff like that. And I
How
don't
do you
know.
get in the good graces though? 'Cause you get in trouble for that shit back then.
Right. And so
And
she was documenting
Yeah,
it,
let me-
right? You know, and so she was taking photos, and just these really, really good photos of that time. I think is just really interesting, and as someone who I really enjoy I really enjoy documentary work over most other kind of video work, and I think it's because of it's that whole relationship side of things that you're building relationships with these people that you maybe wouldn't normally, but given this like subject,
Yeah.
you do, and it's and then they become friends, and they become cool with like what you're doing, and it would have just been, I would have loved to hear some of the stories of what she probably went through.
Yeah.
And so Martha Cooper.
Nice. Great answer. Are you an iOS or an Android person?
iOS.
iOS. Okay. So, read receipts, on or off? Or you don't pay them any mind whatsoever?
I don't really pay them any mind. I think they're off.
Okay.
I don't think I have them on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have an opinion either
No,
direction.
not really. I think the only as far as like text messages go, I don't have them on. I don't know if it's default on like Instagram or whatever, if you can like, if it's seen at whatever.
I'm not sure either. I think you can do something.
Turn it on.
but-
Okay, I think it's turned on for Instagram and LinkedIn, but it's not.
Interesting. What about in the social media realm, liking one's own posts?
Like if I were to like my own post?
Yeah.
No. No.
That's the correct answer.
Yeah, no.
But
No.
But- folks be doing it.
Folks, yeah. Yeah, I guess so, but no. No.
Okay. You're given the ability to visit your past self at any age.
Yeah.
You're choosing.
Yeah.
What age are you choosing, and what are you saying?
Ooh. It's so funny because, like, 20s, you want to be a grown-up, but you're still young, and you're not. And then, but that makes the 20s really hard. I'd say 20s, late 20s, to don't put so much pressure on feeling like you need to have things figured out, or feeling like you need to be established in what you're doing. Like I think there's a pressure, social media feeds this for sure, for people who are doing video work, photography work, that like you need to be operating at a certain level by a certain time within like to be able to make it,
Right.
You know, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And I think I would just tell myself that was concerned with that at the time to just kind of chill out and
Cool.
just try to learn.
I love that.
And just try to learn as much as you can and pay attention to things that are going on around you, and don't get caught. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. That's what
great.
I would say.
Heck
Yeah.
If we can pretend or imagine that we all have a personal and a professional bucket list.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say you're given all the necessary resources to hammer out your number one personal and your number one professional. What would they be?
Is like personal project.
Yeah. Accomplishment project. To do travel, spot to travel, whatever it is.
Professional. At some point in my life, I would love to shoot and probably co-direct. I wouldn't want to direct it, but I could be in the a feature-length documentary of some kind. Like I would love to at least do that once.
Cool.
I would love to do a feature-length doc one time.
Meaning 90 minutes ish?
Yeah.
Is that
yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
That can happen, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
If it doesn't, call me up.
it's
You can follow me around for an hour and a half.
Sure. And that may not seem like a super lofty thing, but
It doesn't have to be lofty.
yeah, it's just
the thing
like
that
that.
you wanna
Yeah,
do.
yeah,
It's
for
your
sure.
thing.
Yeah. As far as personal,
Sometimes they're one and the same. I mean,
kind of. I think it would just be trying to be probably the best dad I can be to my kids.
bro, if that wasn't your
Yeah.
answer,
And husband to my wife.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
of
like
course,
dad and
of
husband.
course.
It's just being the best that I can.
it's so wild.
Yeah.
Being a parent.
Yeah.
I mean, she fucking got a phone and
Yeah.
likes Lululemon and Starbucks, and I'm like, what? She was painting her room this weekend. How much did I weigh? You were 6 pounds 8 ounces. You were a
Nice.
very tiny baby.
Yeah.
And look at your ass now. I mean, like, wow, it goes so fast. I know
Yeah.
everybody says it, but god damn,
Yeah.
it does.
Yeah.
Complete this for me, please.
Sure.
The world would immediately become a better place in which to live if only.
People listen more
Awesome. I love that.
and talked less.
Dave's the name.
Yep.
On Instagram.
Yep.
Facebook, LinkedIn, the Outriders.com.
Outriders, yeah.
Is there anything you'd hoped that we would cover that we didn't?
No.
Okay.
No, man. And anybody listening that wants to reach out.
Cool.
It's cool. Yeah.
Much appreciate the time,
Yeah.
especially with two little ones. I know Saturdays they can be precious, so appreciate it.
Well,
Very nice meeting you.
Yeah.
Talk
for
to you
sure.
soon.
All right, man.